Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting. It is Thursday, September 30th, 2021, 4:30 in the afternoon. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the August 26th meeting.
I'll offer a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is the public hearings, the consideration of the request of Christopher and Laura Williams to rezone from B1 Limited Business District to B2 Service Business District. The property legally described as Lot 2 of Tract A and the north 50 feet of the balance of Tract A of outlots 476, 477, 451A, and 451B. The street address of the property is 2010 South Broadway.
Okay, the deadline for decision on this particular request is October 15th, 2021. The land use designation in the city's comprehensive plan for this property is business. Surrounding land uses in the comprehensive plan is business to the north, south, and east. And to the west is park, open space, and floodplain. The zoning designation for the property that was previously given. The surrounding zoning to the north, it's B2 and B3, B3 being a general business district. To the west, it's RA, Agricultural Residence District. To the south, it's B1. And to the east, it's B2. Current site use is a single-family dwelling. Current area uses to the north is Woodview Dental, Burger King, and then the former Target property. To the west is the Cottonwood River and its floodplain. To the south is Park Place Apartments and a single-family dwelling or dwellings. And then to the east is Hy-Vee and Pizza Ranch. Notice has been provided to all property owners within 350 feet of the subject property and was published in the Journal on September 18th, 2021. Public comment. I did have a telephone call from area property owner, and he stated that he had no objection to the rezoning. Okay, site description use. The total land area is 30,056 square feet. The single-family dwelling on the lot totals 1,578 square feet. There is a single-stall attached garage of approximately 336 square feet. There is a detached garage of 336 square feet. And the owner proposes to live on site and also operate a plumbing business at this location. The single-family dwelling is a legal non-conforming use since it was built in 1957. The plumbing business would be a permitted use. The owner currently operates a plumbing business from their residence with a home occupation conditional use permit. Previously, the occupant of the dwelling unit operated a landscape nursery on the property. Project description, first history. The property has been zoned as follows in the past. As of September 1963, it was industrial. Effective October 1, 1968, that was changed to B2. And then effective September 4th, 2012, it was changed to B1. Rezoning criteria. Pursuant to Minnesota law established by the Minnesota Supreme Court, decisions on rezoning requests must be based on consideration of the following criteria. The first is whether the proposed rezoning corrects an error in the original zoning text or map, or whether the proposed rezoning addresses needs arising from a changing condition, trend, or fact affecting the subject property and surrounding area. The rezoning must meet one of the two criteria described. Of the two criteria, the proposed rezoning does not correct an error in the original zoning text or map. As a result, the rezoning can only be approved if it addresses a changing condition, trend, or fact affecting the property and surrounding area. A third criteria to be considered following a decision on the first two is whether the proposed rezoning is consistent with achieving the goals and objectives outlined in the comprehensive plan. It is the responsibility of the petitioner to provide information justifying their request to the Planning Commission. Next item has to do with zoning definitions. The current zoning is B1, and the definition there is this is a district that's intended to provide a district which is related to and may reasonably adjoin higher density or other residential districts for the location and development of administrative office buildings and related office uses which are subject to more restrictive controls. The office uses allowed in this district are those in which there is limited contact with the public and no manufacture, exterior display, or selling of merchandise to the general public. Multiple family dwellings are permitted in the B1 zoning district. So the requested B2 zoning district is intended to provide a district for which a wide variety or wide range of services and goods which might be incompatible with the uses permitted in retail business districts. It is intended that the B2 service business district be located in separate areas which may be adjacent to other retail business districts or in close proximity to a major street. Considerations. The question that we have, the Commission has before it today is, does the requested rezoning meet the criteria for a changing condition, trend, or fact? Staff recommendation. Staff would recommend approval of the rezoning request for the following reasons. Number one, the city's comprehensive plan designates the property for business land uses. The rezoning would be consistent with that designation. Two, the property was zoned B2 from 1968 to 2012, a period of 44 years. The rezoning would return the property to a zoning designation previously assigned to the property. Three, there is a B2 zoned property to the north and east. There is B1 zoned property to the south. The proposed zoning would be compatible with surrounding zoning districts. Four, the subject property has been used for business purposes in the past. Five, there is a need for additional B2 zone property in the community in order to accommodate smaller business operations. And six, the property would continue to maintain a business zoning designation. Staff's opinion, these factors are evidence of a changing condition, trend, or fact. Attached is a copy of the zoning petition. Then there's also a copy of the 2007 Comprehensive Plan land use map identifying the area proposed for rezoning. Thirdly, there's a zoning map of the area. Fourth, there's an aerial photograph of the property. And then fifth, there are ground level photographs of the property. And then motions to approve the request and to deny the request are provided as well. That would conclude the staff report.
Thank you. Discussion?
It is a public hearing. I don't know if there's anybody in the
Is
audience
anybody-
that wants
yeah.
to speak on it. I don't have any questions. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. It's been zoned that already for a long life. The neighbors have, said that they have no issues or objections to it, so. With that being said, I'm okay with it.
I am too. I'd make a motion to approve as stated by the details and the recommendations.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? When does this appear at the council? October 5th? Okay, Chris, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a simple lot division. Consider for approval a simple lot division of Lot 14, Block 115, south of Center Street, J&J Rentals. Staff report.
All right. The property address for this location is 901 South Washington Street. The property is generally located south of 9th South Street and then east of South Washington Street. Deadline for a decision on this request is November 13th, 2021. The land use designation is low-density residential. Surrounding land uses to the north, south, east, and west are all low-density residential. Its zoning designation is R2, the single and two-family residence district. Surrounding zoning is to the north, east, and west, R2, and then to the south, R2 and R1, R1 being the single-family residence district. Currently, the site has a single-family residence located on it. Current area land uses include to the north, south, east, and west, single and two-family residences. There is no notice required for this simple lot division, and there have been no public comments that we have received on this request. The subdivision description. This property is a corner lot. The R2 zoning district allows for two single-family dwelling units on a corner lot. The minimum lot area for a corner lot in the R2 zoning district is 4,000 square feet. Lot 14 has dimensions of 50 feet by 165 feet and a total lot area of 8,250 feet. The property does have a moderate slope running from east to west. The applicant is proposing to subdivide Lot 14 into two parcels. The proposed legal description would be as follows. Parcel A, the front 85 feet of Lot 14, and then Parcel B, Lot 14, except the front 85 feet. Other than the Public Utilities Electric Department, city staff has not been advised of it by any utility providers of any conflicts with utilities serving Lot 14. I should note that Parcel A will be 4,250 square feet, and Parcel B will be 4,000 square feet. So those, both of those parcels will meet the minimum area for a single-family dwelling unit in that zoning district. For the attachments, attachment number 1 is the applicant's letter and lot division drawing. Attachment 2 is a site location map. Attachment 3 is the zoning map. Whoops. I lost track of my papers here. Where did that go? Do you want to pick up?
Okay, attachment 4 is site map, attachment 5 is a lot map, and then attachment 6 is our ground level photographs. Staff recommendation, the staff would recommend approval of the simple lot division since it complies with city code requirements. Item D is conditions. Staff would recommend the following conditions. Number 1, the lot division will be effective upon the filing of the resolution approving this request with the Brown County Recorder's Office. And 2, the property owner will provide a 5-foot wide utility easement along the south property line of Parcel B for utility services from the alley to the front parcel. Then item E are motions to both recommend approval and to recommend denial. And that would conclude the staff report.
Questions, comments?
I guess for staff, do we have a requirement here? I don't see anything for off-street parking on the property. Like lot 1 in the front has got a garage. is there going to be a garage or a pad or a driveway for off-street parking? Is that a requirement? If,
City
we're
code,
redeveloping a
yeah.
property?
City code requirements are that you have to have a stall for a single-family dwelling. So that's something that, at the time, the rear half is being developed, that the property owner would need to comply with that requirement.
So the owner isn't here in the audience this
Right.
afternoon, but he is aware that he will have to provide one off-street parking stall for that.
Yeah, we bring that to his attention.
And then my other question is there a preference, which direction is the house going to face? Or, is it going to be facing the alley or is it facing the side street?
It would face the side street.
Face the side street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although the owner hasn't provided that information to us, but that's what we would assume.
Okay. And then question, being we have that cul-de-sac there, is there any concerns with that cul-de-sac encroaching upon the property there? Alley for as far as the setback for
No,
the radius?
that should be able to comply with the required setback.
I'm just kind of basing off of previous when we've had cul-de-sacs and we've got to maintain that radius circle and just asking the question.
Did you have, do we have to put sidewalk in or anything since they're establishing a new property there?
That would be up to the city council if they wish to proceed with that type of improvement.
Because otherwise, the homeowner's going to have to walk on the street, because I don't see sidewalk across the street on the diagrams here for me,
Right.
but if we're adding improvements, could we put that as a recommendation maybe for council to consider?
Or what you could do is also an option would be to send it to the safety commission. I think they sometimes deal with sidewalk issues. The council could do that as well.
Sure.
Okay.
I think we should, if we're making improvements to the property and, you've already got one driveway, you're going to have another driveway in, it's almost paved already.
Yeah. The picture, I'm looking at picture 11 or page 11 on this, and I have a hard time, think that's a 4,000 square foot lot. That cul-de-sac seems to cut into the, are you
Yeah.
seeing what I'm seeing?
Yeah, it looked a little different.
It looks like,
No.
it almost looks like the garage is way back. So is the garage for the first property going to be then on the property line?
So there is a detached garage on property fronting Washington. And then on the back property, the one that would be facing
Was this
Ninth.
the shed that's coming down?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm seeing?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So the shed that I'm seeing in the tree is gone. Okay.
If you looked at attachment 4, you can see the outline of the
Okay.
lot. And so
Right.
and the lot extends into the alley area, so we're off. It should be maybe pushed to the front a little bit, but you can see that there's adequate,
Okay.
that the lot, the shape of the lot is not impacted by the cul-de-sac.
Because when I looked at 11, the line is on this side of the garage, not on the other side of the garage.
And I think looking at that's way at the end.
Right,
Of the
yeah,
lot.
okay. All right. All right. Does anybody else have any conditions, questions? Do I have a motion?
I'd move to recommend the approval of staff with conditions listed.
Well, second?
Does your conditions include talking about sidewalk and improvements? Is that what we were requesting?
We discussed it.
Okay, so that
and
should be
staff was
added
saying-
to the conditions? All right.
Staff was saying that council would have to give approval or
Yeah, okay.
request of that, or council would ask
Okay,
the safety commission to consider that.
all right.
So you want city council consideration of whether sidewalk would
Yes.
be appropriate or not. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'll accept that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is plat. Consider for approval the preliminary plat of Oakwood Heights Fourth Subdivision. City
Okay,
report.
if I could, I'd like to start with the second page.
Okay.
And the heading is plat description. And the area to be platted is located in Milford Township and outside of the New Ulm city limits. As permitted by state statutes, the city of New Ulm extended their subdivision regulations into portions of Cottonwood and Milford Township in 2003. The proposed plat is located within this area and as a result is subject to the city's subdivision regulations and subdivision approval process. So this is a piece of property that is outside of the city of New Ulm. Okay, so the applicant, we have two property owners. One is Mark and Brenda Bergman. The second is Brady Golden on behalf of Gasto Properties LLC. The legal description of the property is Lot 4, Lot 5, Block 1, Oakwood Heights. Street address is 16,052, 16,032 Oakwood Heights Road. Property is generally located west of Milford Street and south of the westerly extension of Oakwood Avenue. Deadline for a decision on this matter is January 19th of 2021. The comprehensive plan currently designates this area for low-density residential. Other classifications, to the north, it's low-density residential and airport safety zones. To the east, it's low-density residential. To the west, we have a designation in our comprehensive plan of future residential expansion, and to the south is floodplain. The zoning designation is R1 residential, and that is the Brown County designation. That county designation is also found to the north, east, west, and south. You will note to the east that there is also a city designation of R1s, which is our single-family residence district. The current site use is there's a single-family dwelling on each lot. Current area land uses, to the north we have single-family dwellings. There's a farmyard and farmland. To the east we have single-family dwellings. To the west is a ravine. And to the south, single-family dwellings and then a hillside. Notice, none is required. Public comment, none to date. Utilities serving these properties, water is by private well. Sanitary sewer are private septic systems. There are no storm sewers in this particular location. As far as we have natural gas, actually the heating fuel is private propane. And then the electrical is provided by the New Ulm Public Utilities Commission, and it's an underground system. Comprehensive plan does not designate a park within the platted areas. Then we have plat description, and I'll go to the second dash. The area to be platted consists of two existing and abutting lots, a 66-foot wide access and utility easement is located in Lot 4 and adjoins Lot 5. A paved roadway is located within the easement area. The platted property is flat with the exception of the ravine area on the west side of Lot 4. Located on each lot is a single-family dwelling, attached garage, and accessory buildings. Property was originally platted in 1986 At that time, the property line between Lot 4 and Lot 5 was located on the west side of the easement area. That's the way it is currently. In addition, this subdivision is located in Safety Zone B of the New Ulm Municipal Airport zoning ordinance. The minimum lot area in Safety Zone B is 3 acres. And Lot 4 and Lot 5 currently comply with that requirement. The proposed plat would move the property line between Lot 4 and Lot 5 a total of 33 feet to the east. This would move the property line from the west side of the easement area to the center of the easement area. And it would also place the property line in the approximate center of the paved roadway. Paved roadway is currently 22 feet wide. This results in approximate road ditch areas of 22 feet on each side of the paved roadway. The easement location requires the owner of Lot 4, the current owner of Lot 4, to maintain both of the road ditch areas. As a result, this owner must maintain the road ditch fronting Lot 5. Moving the property line to the east would place the west road ditch area in Lot 5. Does everyone kind of understand what's trying to be accomplished here? Okay. This would result in a more logical lot layout for both Lot 4 and 5. The relocation of the lot line would, however, change the lot area of both properties. The lot area for Lot 4 would decrease from 3.02 acres to 2.66, and Lot 5 would increase in size from 3.47 to 3.83 acres. The lot dimensions are shown on the plat. In this type of situation, staff would evaluate the plat using the lot standards found in the city's R1 zoning district. That's our single-family district, and both lots comply with those requirements. Attachments include the preliminary plat. There's a site location map, which is an aerial. We have the county zoning map, site map, and then we have the airport safety zone map. And then we have ground level photographs, and we tried to approximate the location of the lot lines. Staff would recommend approval of the preliminary plat with conditions since it complies with city code requirements. The recommended conditions are as follows. Number 1, pay the platting fee of $210. So that's a base fee of $150 and $30 per lot. Provide an electronic file of the plat in an AutoCAD 2016 or newer format. And number 3, the owner will secure a lot area variance for Lot 4 from the Joint Airport Safety or Zoning Board, since the plat will reduce the size of Lot 4 below the 3-acre minimum. Then 2 motions are provided, one to recommend approval and one to recommend denial. Does anybody have any questions on the request and on the attachments? Is it
Pretty straightforward.
okay?
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
With that being said, I'll offer a motion to recommend approval with conditions. The preliminary plat of Oakwood Heights 4th subdivision.
I would second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Motion to vote to approve.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has carried. Status of provision of zoning ordinance, zoning update 9/30/2021.
All right. So some fairly notable items have been completed since our last planning commission meeting. Chapters 1, general provisions. Chapter 2, the application review and procedures. And Chapter 13, rules and definitions. and Chapter 3 zoning districts have all been reviewed by the Planning Commission. Those edits recommended by the Planning Commission to Chapters 1, 2, and 13 have been reviewed by the city attorney. We still have to review Chapter 3 with them, but we're in the process of that. So items still in process, we have to complete the staff review of Chapter 4, which is residential zoning districts with the city attorney, and then do the staff review of Chapter 5, the commercial zoning districts, Chapter 6, the industrial zoning districts, and then Chapter 7, the special purpose zoning districts. In the next month, we intend to complete the reviews of Chapters 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, and 6 with the city attorney, and we'll forward those chapters to the Planning Commission for its review. The Planning Commission and staff will schedule a work session at that time, at a time and date to be determined. So after reviewing the items the Planning Commission recommended, we brought the chapters back to the city attorney and then reviewed those items with him. And then, so I have a couple notable things that we discussed with the city attorney. So number one, throughout the ordinance, there are a number of terms that, there was questions on should we capitalize ordinance, should we capitalize chapter, so on and so forth. And throughout the ordinance, if we're referring to a specific document, this chapter, this ordinance, the city code, those are specific titles to documents that we have, and therefore we'll be capitalizing those terms anytime we're using them throughout the document. So ordinance, chapter, section, subsection, city, comprehensive plan, and city code will be capitalized throughout the document. So semicolon versus period. Remember there was a discussion on should we put all these semicolons in, should we go with periods? So reviewing that with the city attorney, decided that in some cases we'll be continuing to use the semicolons where we want the reader to know that the item that we're being addressed is a part of a larger set of listed regulations, intending for them to continue to read on. So it's this item plus the next one, plus the next one. And we will intend to use, or we will be using a period when we're addressing the standalone regulation or when that item is a separate requirement or explanation from the other listed regulations. And then I provided two examples in Chapter 2 where we have a portion where we're using semicolons, and then we also have a portion where we're using periods. Does that make sense? Okay. Legal terms. The city attorney did prefer to keep many of the legal terms used throughout the document, such as thereto, pursuant, conferred, therewith, set forth. And it's because those terms are used and understood by the legal profession and the court system, and it is necessary since this zoning ordinance is a legal document. In some locations, we did substitute words, those more legalese words, with other more common words. But there was kind of few and far between where we did that. We did add, or will be adding, two new definitions. One is comprehensive plan, and then we have a definition of comprehensive plan there. And then we were also going to add the definition of abutting, since we do use that term throughout our zoning ordinance, provide a little bit more clarity on what that actually means. And then it was recommended that we include common terms like twin home when we talk about single-family attached dwellings. So the way we're going to address that is the definition will be as follows: for a dwelling, single-family attached building containing one dwelling unit which is attached to another dwelling unit or building on one or more sides by a common party wall or party walls, which is located on its own lot, which includes twin homes. So I hope that's straightforward. Again, one thing that we didn't discuss at the Planning Commission meeting, during the Planning Commission review, but we ended up having a a fairly lengthy discussion about it with the city attorney was in our review processes for both the planning commission and the city council. What we had in the proposed new code is that anytime we are recommending a denial of conditional use, variance, interim use, that we provide reasoning for that denial. Now, when discussing that with the city attorney, he would actually like to see that we provide reasoning for approval or denial. So anytime we are going to be, variance is probably the most common one. Anytime that we approve a variance or deny a variance, we provide reasons for approval or denial of that variance. And it's often referred to as a finding of fact form. So I wanted to let you guys know that we have added that language into Chapter 2, that the Planning Commission will be providing findings of fact of approval or denial of such a request. And that will actually read like this. So, following the hearing, the Planning Commission shall adopt findings and recommendations using each review criteria outlined in Chapter 2. Recommendations shall be supported by findings of fact as to how the request did or did not meet the review criteria. That makes sense? I think his opinion is that if we ever are challenged on anything, we're going to need to have that written documentation. And I can tell you right now, it's quite interesting. I was looking at a variance request that was denied in Nicollet County, and that has been going back and forth for months and months. And I'm not joking. Their last planning commission meeting had a 600-page planning commission agenda, so it got pretty deep pretty quick. And those findings of fact were very important to them when documenting this request. So,
If I can just interject real quickly, you'll find this requirement also for the conditional use permit and for interim use permit as well. So wherever we're, approving a document, we're going to have findings of fact.
So I can assume from that in your recommendations for approval, and that you will be stating the facts that needed to be stated. So should we go against a recommendation from the city, we need to supply a counterbalance for all the reasonings that you have listed for acceptance or denial. Okay.
yes, I think what we maybe be looking at is just the review criteria for a item,
Right.
and then the planning commission providing what their thoughts are on yes, it meets this criteria, or no, it doesn't meet this criteria, and that's how I would see that going.
No, because? Yes or no, this meets the criteria because?
Yes, there needs to be reasoning
A
behind
statement.
it. Yeah.
Okay. I do again see the glaring key dates at the bottom of the report, which is December 21st, 2020, and we need to get a meeting in. I'm assuming this meeting is going to be then now the beginning of November? Or when would you be November sometime to deliver the reports that are at the attorneys now, or?
Okay, yeah, I would expect that the next meeting with the Planning Commission to review future chapters would be sometime in October.
October?
Yeah,
Okay.
oh, very definitely.
Okay, I just kind of want to.
Could I just jump back just
Sure.
one second? So I just wanted to kind of talk about variances in particular, because we've been seeing more variances, quite a few variances, and those findings of fact, we're going to be looking at that criteria. And one of the criteria that you probably have seen in the last few staff recommendations is addressing the uniqueness of the property. So when we address the uniqueness of the property, or when we think about that, typically the uniqueness is related to the land itself. Okay, not a building, not a structure, not something the property owner did, but the uniqueness of the land, basically out of the control of the property owner. So some good examples we see around New Ulm would be, we have ravines all over the place. We have the Minnesota River, we have the Cottonwood River, we have bluffs. Things like that change the landscape and change the way the land can be used. We also have, in some areas, down by the bike trail, we still have existing wetlands. That changes how the property can be used. Or, there's other unique features on the properties. Remember the variance on 10th North, 10th South. Very steep slope, those kinds of things provide some uniqueness to the property, not buildings. So when, looking at a vacant parcel of land, and looking at variance requests, we have to look at, the uniqueness of that property.
Right.
So.
Yeah, if you look at the approval or the application that we use, and on the back side, we list the criteria for approving a variance, and there's two that I think are more difficult for an applicant to answer, or the most difficult. And that's number 4, which reads that, in your opinion, are there circumstances unique to this property that necessitate the need for variance? So the key phrase to me in there is unique to this property. You go to number 5, and it reads almost the same way. In your opinion, are there circumstances unique to this property that necessitate the need for a variance that were not created by the property owner? And so, unique to the property, if we're talking about a vacant piece of property, takes out of consideration, a structure. You're only looking at it from the standpoint of the property.
How about in the following one? You mentioned number 5, Dave.
Yeah.
So you mentioned number 5. The following one were things that were in existence prior to that owner owning that property.
Yeah.
Would that be an instance where structures could be included, or is it still really in regard to the land itself, the property? Because if someone purchases a piece of property where there is a structure that was there prior to them owning it, I would consider that, listening to what you just read, to be something unique to the property that was there before they owned it.
I think that is something that can definitely be under consideration when looking at a variance.
Sure.
But I think if we were going to refer to the uniqueness of the property that wasn't created by the property owner, let's say they made way back, they had made a very small lot. And now that lot is so small, to fit something on that property, they need a variance from the side yard setbacks or front yard setbacks. So that was not something that the property owner currently created that problem, but it was a previous property owner. So it wasn't by this new property owner's own doing.
Sure.
That it caused a situation like that.
Yeah, it kind of leads to an interesting discussion, because on one hand, you are buying an existing piece of property, and these are the conditions. So that's what you're buying. You're buying those conditions.
Right.
And so maybe those conditions limit what you can do. Therefore, that should be reflected in the value of the property. On the other hand, there may be situations when those conditions are such that, some type of further consideration is warranted. So that's one of the reasons that we have a board like this, is to kind of, work your way through those types of things. I think with number 5, that there's also that end statement that says that we're not created by the property owner. And so if the issue is created by the property owner and, you still think it has merit, then we need to change the code. I've heard recently about, structures maybe being tall and that's a unique situation. Well, we have nothing in our code that says that, that's a factor that warrants some consideration. Well, in the code is where it should be if you think that that's something that's warranted. There's been discussion about square footage and, that's kind of a unique factor. If that's something that the, commission, city council felt, then write it into your code. That's a unique factor.
Okay.
We did do some analysis of square footages and we found that the school, the courthouse, the hospital are significantly, not significant, but are larger than some other square footages that we talked about recently.
Sure.
So there's, there's that to be taken into consideration as well, is that, when you tend to have more than a couple, then, those properties should be, if we're being equitable in our approach, should have the same rights to things as other properties.
Right. Okay, thank you.
One other thing that I wanted to also discuss, lately when John's been doing his staff reports, he has listed the criteria, and he'll comment that he believes that the request meets the requirement or doesn't meet the requirement, and then you'll go on. And I would like to point out that with variances, you have to be able to say yes to every criteria. It's not a 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 kind of situation. It has to comply with all of them. So that's what makes getting a variance kind of a challenge, is that all of them are in play.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, the status, report, city report. We discussed the planning, is this a discussion of the planning commissioners?
Yeah. At the September 7th meeting, the city council conducted a public hearing and then approved with conditions the vacation of existing alley rights-of-way in block 123 north of Center, and that's property that is north of North Park. It's out near a couple body shops. Hala is out there, and there's another one. I expect we could have a future agenda item on this area in one form or another. Council unanimously approved with conditions a conditional use permit to Dunlar Construction in the state of Minnesota Department of Military Affairs to place a special purpose fence at 2100 Palmer Avenue. That's the barbed wire fence that we talked about. They unanimously approved with conditions the variance requested Tim Cordes to allow a 10 by 14 accessory structure 6 feet from the north property line at 1827 North Jefferson Street. Unanimously approved with conditions the variance request of MLC requesting a variance to allow up to 1,545.5 square feet of exterior signage at 1800 Betker Road. I'll just add a comment. I wish the council would have given some reasons for approving this particular request. They did not. So from a staff standpoint, and I think from a commission standpoint, it gets, it'd be nice to know what they were thinking. At the September 21st meeting, conducted a public hearing on the final plat of Maha's third edition and then approved the final plat, and that was at 1727 and 1729 Oakwood Avenue. They approved a development agreement with Streams Edge Properties for a lot in our Industrial Park third edition, and that's at 2215 Jacob Street. Closing on that property was supposed to happen today, so that's good. And then at their work session, and this is just more for informational purposes, they received notice that we again have Minnesota State University Mankato students. Their senior engineering students doing design projects. They're called Capstone Projects. It's kind of at the end of their academic period. This is a major project that they do. And last year they did 3 projects, and this year they're doing 3 projects. And the 3 projects this year are a trail from the putting green all the way to Minicon Park. And so we're having them use the berm as a portion of the trail, and then it would transition to South Front Street and then through Riverside Park. And there's been some of this has been looked at in the past. And then we would hopefully from Minicon, they would look at taking it and intersecting with the current bike trail. There's a couple options that exist there for them accomplishing that. But we'd also like to have them take a look at opportunities for other recreational items such as
Canoe landings, fishing locations, things of that nature that provide more access to the outdoors for people. Yeah, maybe potentially a dock, which would be a challenge for them as far as how do you do that within a floodplain, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Oh, and the use of Walnut Island, which is maybe a pipe dream for me. But that's kind of across the river from Minicon Park. And how do you get over there? What kind of uses can we have on that island and that type of thing?
You can walk it sometimes. I've seen it done at one of the River Fests years ago. It was so shallow that the kids were walking back and forth across the river.
So the second project that they're looking at is looking at Cottonwood, the Cottonwood Street area, the upper Cottonwood Street area.
Okay.
Basically proceeding to the west. So we kind of reach a peak at Cottonwood Street where development now is taking place. There's kind of a peak there, and then it goes downhill. So if the city is ever to expand in that direction, we're looking at lift stations. We've got some water pressure issues, so possibly a water tower. We've got State Park on the one side, so how do we treat that area? And so we kind of want them to look at that. We also have got some Cottonwood River potential issues that are impacting some developed areas, so we'd like to have them take a look at that as well. The third project is back in 1999, we had a growth study done for the city of New Ulm. It was done by Bolton and Mink. And what they did is they looked at potential growth areas surrounding the city, and we identified 9 areas. And then Bolton and Mink identified how we would extend utilities to those locations, what the routes would be, what the sizing would be of those utilities. And that was for water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer. And we've used that in making some of our decisions, but we also altered some of the recommendations. And so what we would like the students to do is to go back and look at that and kind of amend, sections where changes were made, and then to look at the growth areas, maybe increase them in size or reduce them, make new ones, kind of leave it wide open. Then the issue of stormwater has changed dramatically from 1999, you know. At that time, we were just running pipe directly into the river. Well, that day has passed, and so we'd like to have them look at, you know, how should we best treat our stormwater. Anything else?
Heritage preservation?
They did not meet.
Is there any other business that needs to come before the commission? If not, this meeting stands adjourned.